welcome back to this training session. In this training session, we are going to build the detailed page of the Field Worker app. So let's jump into the application and start building the page. On this page, we are going to show a map, some information on the header, and we are going to have several tabs where we are going to have several actions on them, like comments, signature pads, upload of photos, and a barcode scanner. So let's start with the application. The first thing that we want to do is to create an area to load the map. We are going to use an external library for the map. Let's create the container. In this case, let's drag a VBox. Let's change the name to job location map. Let's define the height to 200 pixels, and for now we don't need to do anything else. Let's go on to the next object, which is the header. Let's drag the object header component. Once more, let's rename the object to equipment info. Inside the object header, we are going to need two object attributes, so let's drag them. Let's rename the first one to object attribute equipment name, and the second one to object attribute part number. Now let's go back to the equipment info and add an icon. Let's select the add equipment icon. Let's bind the number, but as you can see, we don't have anything to bind. We need to assign the model first, so let's jump into the view inspection job and bind the global structure equipment inspection. Let's go back to the equipment info and bind the number to the days until check, and let's also bind the number state to days until check. The number state only allows 5 values: error, information, none, success, and a warning. In our case, we are passing a number, and to solve this, we are going to use a formatter. Let's open the formatter. We already have the code here, so we just need to tweak a little bit. Let's pass the code here. So if the days until check is bigger than 1, we apply the success. Otherwise, we put an error. Now, let's also use a formatter to put the unit on the number. So let's add days after the days until check. Now let's configure the object attribute equipment name. On the text, we want to bind the name, and on the title, let's put equipment name. Let's do the same on the object attribute parts number. In this case, on the text, we want to bind the part number, and on the title, let's type part number. Let's activate the application. Let's choose the first line, and we can see that we have an area to show the map, and we have the header with the equipment and the parts name. But we only have the titles, we don't have any data. We need to pass the data from the first page to the second page. So let's go into the press event of the tile, and let's add the line model view inspection job dot set data, and let's pass the variable data. Once more, let's activate the application. Let's choose the first line, and now, as we can see, we have the information. Let's improve the way that the information is displayed. Let's add a label behind the days. Let's jump into the number format and let's type due in before the number. Let's activate the application, choose the first line, and now we can see the label behind the number. Now let's start building the action area. Let's start by dragging the icon tab and 4 icon tab filters. On the first one, we want to show the comments. So let's rename it to tab comment. Let's configure an icon. Let's choose the icon comments dash dot. Inside the tab comments, we want to have a button and a text area. So let's start by dragging the button and also the text area. Let's start to configure the button. Let's rename it to O button save comments. Let's also add the icon save. And let's also add the text save. Now let's configure the text area. Let's change the growing to true. And let's also add a placeholder. Let's type comments here. The placeholder is going to be shown when the text area is empty. Let's activate the application. Let's choose the first line. And as you can see, we have the save and we have the text area. But we need to improve visually the application. Let's put the save button on top of the text area. And to achieve that, we need to use a VBox. So let's drag it. Let's put both components inside. Let's activate the application. Let's choose the first line. And we have the button above the text area. But we need to increase the size of the text area. So let's choose the text area. Let's search for the width. And let's type 50%. Let's activate the application. Let's choose the first line. Now visually the application is looking much better. Let's do one thing else. Let's align the icon and the text area with the icon on the tab filter. And to achieve this, we need to select the VBox. We need to look for the style class margin. And let's select a small margin in the beginning. Additionally, let's also add a label on the tab comments. So let's choose the tab comment. Let's search for the text and let's type comments. Let's activate the application. Let's choose the first line. And now, as you can see, we have the label comments and we have the text area and the button aligned with the icon. Let's press on the second tab filter, and as you can see, if we press a second time, the tab collapses. So we need to change the property expandable to false. So let's choose the icon tab and change the property. Now let's start to configure the second tab filter. Let's change the name to tab picture. In this case, we want to upload and show the image. To speed the process, let's use a building block. Let's go to the option building block. Let's select the PWA camera building block. This building block brings a lot of components. Let's choose the ones that we are going to need. So let's expand. We are going to need the HTML object camera upload. So let's drag the Oflexbox camera upload into the tab, and we are going to need the image. So let's drag the HBox camera upload display area also into the tab. We don't need this second object, so let's delete it. We are going also to need the button to upload the image. Let's search the button, it's on the footer. Okay, let's drag it into the HBox above the image. Let's just check, but I don't think we need anything else from the object, so let's delete all the objects. On the scripts, we have two scripts, one for the live camera and another one for the upload. For now, we don't need the live camera, so let's delete it. On the upload one, let's check the code that we have. So we have the attach init, we have a timeout, we have a function, and we can remove the last three lines because they are not needed for this context. Let's activate the application to check the result. We have an error message. Let's search where we have the add event listener. It's inside the camera. We have here the timeout where we have the code, and the issue is being caused because it's outside the attach init. So let's move it into the attach init. Let's activate once more. We still have the issue. Let's double check the code. Let's check if all the variables have the correct names. Everything looks to be correct. Let's add a debugger after the file input. Let's run the application in the standalone mode. Let's refresh. Okay, we are stopped, and let's double check, and we don't have anything on the file input. This is due to the fact that this component was not rendered yet, and we are trying to get the rendered component. So we need to change the place of this code. First, we need to define a key on the tab picture. Let's select the tab picture. Let's define the key as tick. Now let's copy the code without the timeout. Let's delete the timeout. Let's select the icon tab bar. And let's choose the event select. Let's pass the code. Let's use a switch because we may need to have different codes depending on the tabs. So let's go to the code snippets and choose the switch. On the switch, let's just put this .get selected key. And let's change the case 1 to pick. And let's copy the code inside this case. Let's remove the debugger. Let's activate. Let's choose the first line. We didn't define the icon, but let's choose the icon for the pick. And we are not able to see the buttons. Why are we not able to see the buttons? Let's have a look. And this is because we put the HBox outside of the tab picture. So let's drag it inside the tab picture. Let's activate the application. Once more, let's choose the first line. Let's go to the tab picture. Now we can see the button. Let's press the button. Now we are able to choose files. Let's choose an image and press upload, and we can see the image. We need to add a second button to save the image, and we need to align everything. Both buttons should be above the image. So let's start rearranging the components. So let's add a VBox. Let's drag the HBox inside the VBox. Let's rename the VBox to VBox picture. Let's also rename the HBox to HBox picture buttons. To have the same gap in the beginning as we did for the comment, let's add the small margin in the beginning in the VBox. Let's rearrange the objects. Let's move the image outside of the HBox but inside the VBox. And let's put the HBox above the image. Now let's add the save button. Let's rename the save button to O button save picture. Let's add the text save and let's choose the icon save. Let's configure the tab picture text. Let's type there picture and let's add the icon. Let's choose the icon picture. Once more, let's activate the application. Choose the first line. Now we have the icon and the label picture. Let's select it and we have the two buttons. Let's add a small gap between the buttons to improve visually the application. So let's choose the save picture and add a small margin between them. Let's upload a picture just to double check the layout. Let's switch between tabs, the information remains, and visually the application is looking good. So let's go on to the third tab. In this one, we want to show the barcode. So let's rename it to tab barcode. Let's also add the text barcode. And let's also add the icon barcode. To speed the process, we also have building blocks for the barcode. So let's open the building block. Let's choose the barcode scanner with Quago.js for PWA. Let's select it. Let's expand the components to see what we have. So we have some CSSs. Let's copy the class drawing buffer. Let's remove the slashes. Now we can delete the HTML CSS file. Let's check the remaining components. We will need the HTML canvas, so let's drag the HBox inside the tab barcode. We're also going to need a start button, so let's drag the start button above the HBox. We also need an input field to store the value after the barcode is scanned. So let's drag it. On the button start, let's configure an icon. Let's put a camera. Let's also add the VBox to align all the components vertically. Let's put the button above the input field. Once more, let's add the style class margin. Let's add a small margin in the beginning on the VBox. Let's check the script. Let's rename the script. So let's give the same name, O JavaScript Quagga. Let's move the camera JavaScript outside of the folder and delete the folder. Regarding the remaining components, we will need the button stop, so let's drag it inside the HBox below the HTML canvas. The remaining ones, we can delete them. Now let's check the Quagga library. So we have the initialization, then we have the onProcess, and we have the onDetected. In here, we want to show a message. So let's add the barcode scanned message. Also, we need to stop the reader, so let's do quack.stop. and we need to pass the value into the input field. Let's rename the input field to input barcode, and let's pass the value inside the input barcode. Let's type input barcode dot set text, and let's put the variable code, and let's remove the console logs. Let's activate the application once more. Let's run the application in standalone, and we can see that we have a JavaScript error. Quagga is not defined. This issue is occurring because we didn't define the external library on the header. When we import the building block, the header is not being imported. Otherwise, we may overwrite the header of the application. So this needs to be manually copied. Let's open the building block. Let's go to the header and copy the line into our application. Now that we have the header, let's activate the application. Let's refresh the page, and now we have a new JavaScript error. Let's analyze the issue. We have an issue on the set attribute. Let's analyze the code. So we have the timeout, we have the init, and we have the start. Okay, so basically we are starting the Quagga immediately when we run the application, and we don't want to do that. So let's move this code into the button start. So let's open the press event of the button. Let's copy the code. Let's pass the code. Let's remove the timeout. Now everything seems to be okay. Let's activate the application once more. Now we don't have the JavaScript error, so let's choose the first line. Let's navigate to the barcode. Let's press the start. I already have a barcode in front of the camera, so it scans the barcode, and we have a new JavaScript error. Let's have a look. Of course, okay, this is simple. The input barcode doesn't have a text as a value, so it was a typo. Let's correct the property. Let's activate the application and check if now everything is okay. I already have the barcode, so let's start, and the barcode was written. Let's do it again, and it seems to be working fine. Now let's improve visually this tab. We need to move the stop button. One thing that we can do is create a dialog and move the live stream of the camera inside that dialog. So let's start doing that. Let's start by dragging a dialog. Let's drop it after the VBox. Let's move the HBox inside the dialog. Let's also rename the dialog to dialog scan. We don't need a header on the dialog, so let's remove it. Let's set the show header to false. Let's copy the name of the dialog, and let's go to the button start and put there the name of the button .open in order to open the dialog. Let's do that before the Quagga start. Also, we need to close the dialog after the barcode is detected. So let's jump into the JavaScript Quagga, and after the Quagga stop, let's put there dialog scan dot close. Let's activate the application. Once more, let's choose the first line. Let's navigate to the barcode, and let's press start. And we have a JavaScript error. Okay, so we have the set attribute error again. So let's have a look on the code. Okay, so we need to change the place where we are opening the dialog. We need to put the dialog.scan.open before the quagga.init. Let's activate the application. Let's choose the first line. Let's navigate to the barcode, and let's start. And now we have a dialog with the live stream inside. And as you can see, we are able to scan. Now we need to align the stop button and reduce the size of the live stream. So to move the button above the live stream, let's drag a VBox and let's move both components inside the VBox. Let's rename the VBox, let's call it VBox signature. Let's change the properties. Justify content to center, render type to bare, and fit to container true. Let's activate the application. Let's choose the first line. Let's navigate again to the barcode and let's press the start. So as we can see, now we have the stop button above the live stream. Now we need to reduce the size of the live stream. Let's jump into the code. And for that, we need to change a property in the init of the Quagga. After the target, let's put there constraints. And inside, let's put with, and let's use the VBox signature dot dollar brackets dot with in order to set the same width to the width of the VBox. Once more, let's activate. Let's refresh the page. Let's choose the first line. Let's navigate to the barcode and let's start. And now, as you can see, the live stream is adjusted to the dialog size. Now let's configure the last tab. Let's rename the tab to tab sig. Let's also add an icon. Let's choose the signature. Let's also define the key. Let's put sig. And on the text, let's type signature. Now let's start building the content of the tab. To align everything, let's drag a VBox. And I just noticed that I gave the name VBox signature inside the barcode. So let's change that to VBox barcode and let's rename the VBox2 to VBox signature. Let's also drag a HBox. Inside the HBox, we want to put two buttons. So let's drag those buttons. Let's rename the first one to button OK, and let's rename the second to button clear. Let's rename the HBox to HBox signature. Now let's configure the OK button. So on the text, let's put save and let's choose an icon. So let's search for save. Now let's do the same on the clear. So let's search for decline on the icon. And on the text, let's put clear. Now we need a place to store the signature. So let's drag an image. Let's rename to image sig. Let's also bind the source to the signature. Now we need a second HBox. Let's drag it and let's rename it to HBox signature pad. And the final component is the signature pad. So let's drag it inside the HBox. Let's activate the application. Let's choose the first line and let's go to the signature and we have a JavaScript error. Signature pad is not defined. Despite that we have the component signature pad in the tree, by default the add-on signature is not enabled. So we need to go into the application settings and tick the checkbox for the add-on signature pad. once more, let's activate the application. Let's choose the first line, and now we don't have anymore the JavaScript error. And we can use the mouse to sign inside the signature pad. As a final step, let's configure the clear to clear the signature pad. Let's open the press. Let's copy the name of the component signature pad and let's type signature pad dot clear. Let's activate the application. And you know the drill. First line, navigate the signature, and let's sign something. And now we can press the clear, and as you can see, the signature pad is reset. And to finalize the application visually, the only thing missing is a footer bar. So let's drag a bar. Let's drag two bar contents, one on the left and one on the middle. Let's adjust the order. On the left, we want to put a text. Let's rename to text all data present. And on the middle, we need to put the button that is going to submit the information. So let's drag a button and let's rename to button submit inspection. On the text, let's type submit. Let's change the type to accept. And this concludes this training session. Now we have created the visual part of the application. On the next training session, let's create the logic behind the application. Looking forward to see you on the next one.